Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction in Spanish, and then we'll switch over to English. I think this is going to be an interesting session. Hola, buenas tardes a todos que están entrando en este próximo webinar de SOMNIA. Pequeño background sobre SOMNIA. Creo que ya muchos saben, pero eso para explicar, nosotros somos un proyecto que está tratando conectar el expertise de la música electrónica, de la industria, al talento de América Latina. Y estamos haciendo con muchas empresas de Holanda, porque el fundador, este loco aquí, es de Holanda, pero a veces también con otras empresas que tienen mucha experiencia. Por ejemplo, hoy tenemos un webinar con Feature FM, que están especializados en toda la automatización y tecnología de marketing, y principalmente marketing para artistas en la industria de música. Creemos que este webinar puede ser un otro tema interesante para ustedes. Estamos aquí con Mike, con Feature FM, Michael, y él va a explicar, y todo va a ser en inglés. Vamos a tener Q&A al fin. Él va a explicar la plataforma, cómo funciona, y él va a mostrar algunos ejemplos, y sobre esto yo creo que vamos a aprender más nuevas herramientas que pueden ayudar en ser un talento grande en esta industria. So I'll quickly switch to English now. So Michael, thank you very much for being here with us, live from New York, as they would say in some TV shows, right? So great to have you here. The floor is yours. Take us through the great Feature FM story, and then we will have questions throughout the end. And for anybody that has any remarks or comments, just post them in the chat.
Great. Yeah, so I'll start with an introduction, and then I'll share my screen just to kind of aid the conversation at some point, if that's okay. And then from there, of course, if at any point in time there's questions, please interrupt. So my name is Michael Shermann. I'm Director of Business Development at Feature FM. We are a technology company that builds digital marketing and advertising tools for the music industry. The company's been around for several years, but it's really within the past couple of years that the business has found its full scope of services, and that's what we'll be talking about today. So Feature FM builds technology for artists, builds technology for labels, builds technology for distributors, builds technology for managers, and everyone in between. And what we know about the music industry is that it's really hard to build an audience. And then as you're building an audience, we know that it's really hard to understand who they are, right? Everyone relies on Spotify and different streaming services and different social media platforms for promotion and marketing. And it's really hard to keep track of all of that. It's really difficult to better understand where your fans are and how to engage them. And so what we've built at Feature FM is a technology that allows you to market to fans before your music is out, while your music is out, after your music is out, and hopefully you can understand who your audiences are and at what point in your release cycle they engage with your content. And so when you discuss digital marketing, a lot of it is required to better understand what engagement means. And historically, there's been no way to engage fans before a release until recently. So a little bit later, we'll talk about something called a pre-save, which is a digital marketing tool that helps you engage your fans before you put out music. We'll talk about smart links and action pages, which are tools that Feature FM has built that help you direct fans to music and all of the places they can listen to it and understand more about how fans are engaging with your content, and in some cases, exactly who they are. Additionally, Feature FM has an advertising service that is specific for the music industry, and we'll talk a little bit about how Feature FM has built technology that helps independent artists and record labels and everyone in between make sure their music is being heard by relevant audiences in relevant streaming services. So I'll start by sharing my screen. Before I do, have I missed anything? Any other relevant pointers or elements of the introduction that I should speak to?
No, I think the questions will come as we go, right? I know you're going to show some cool things, so the questions will come from there.
What Feature FM is doing is building technology, like we said, that's helping independent artists, labels, distributors, and everyone in the music industry ultimately build your audiences every day and manage those relationships a little bit more. So a little bit about the company. So Feature FM works with over 100,000 artists, labels, distributors. Some of our partners include The Orchard, AWOL, Altafonte, which you may know for a Latin market, 1RPM, Sync Music, 300, and the list goes on. I'm based in New York. We have teams in Israel, and we're working continuously to build what you see here: digital marketing tools, music-based advertising, and analytics and insights that help you understand who your audiences are as artists. We have some testimonials from some folks you might recognize, some big names. The reason that big companies use our technology is the same reason that independent artists use our technology. It helps them understand their audiences. There's never a time when you're too small as an artist to be thinking about this, and there's never a time when you're too big as a label to be thinking about this. And when I say this, I mean it's this problem that you're seeing here on the screen, right? Which is that when you're an artist and you're putting out a song, you've already recorded the song, you've already written the song, you've already mixed and mastered the song, you've shared it with friends and family, you've put in so much time and effort, and you think you're done perhaps, but in fact, that's oftentimes when a lot of the work starts, right? You have one song release and you have 20 different platforms that you have to worry about this song living on, whether it's a streaming service or social media or emailing your fans or doing advertising, TikTok, or any other new platform that may be coming around. There's a lot to consider, right? So we knew at Feature FM that this is a problem for a lot of people, for a lot of artists, right? This one song and 20 platforms. So what we did at Feature FM is we built a technology solution that's intended to help solve that problem, right? And that solution is a comprehensive music marketing, advertising, and analytics platform, right? We focus on 4 major points, which is as an independent artist or as a major label artist, you're focusing on the same thing. You want to grow your audience and you want to do it every day. We're going to help you do that, right? One of the ways to grow as an artist and grow your audience, of course, is through streaming and the revenues that you generate from streaming. So we'll talk a little bit about how this ties into consuming music, right? How you get music to your fans. And what it looks like to maximize engagement. So engagement, how do you actually get people engaging with you or your content on these platforms, right? Who are you putting your content in front of? Why would they engage with it? What kind of questions are you asking about the content or your audience that allows them or you to better understand who's going to take action against your data, right? That's really what we're trying to figure out here. So what we did as a company is we built a lot of tools, right, to help you as an artist or label or manager or marketer understand who your audience is. We have a marketing suite, which you can see here, which we'll discuss, and an advertising platform. As a company, we've built both into the same website. So when you sign up with Feature FM, you get access to everything that we're reviewing today in different levels, depending on where you are in your career and how much money you perhaps want to spend on the subscription. In our marketing suite, you get something called Smart Links. We'll talk a little bit about those and how they're connected to pre-save and pre-order links. This is what we were talking about just before. How do you market music before it's out? You use a pre-save or a pre-order link. We'll talk about that again. What's an action page? It's something where you're asking a fan to take an action, and in turn for taking that action, you're going to give them something, right? This is a marketing tool, right? It's, hey, I'm going to give you something if you give me something. And we make that very possible specifically for music and specifically for artists and fans to engage. And then what you're looking at here is an audience CRM. That's just a couple of letters that stands for customer relationship management. Your fans aren't your customers, right? They're your fans. So think about it as a fan relationship management platform, right? If you wanted to know who was in your phone, right, who you could call, you'd look in your phone book. But as an artist, if you wanted to know where your fans were, where would you look? You don't know where to look, right? They're not all aggregated in one place. You're not able to communicate with them and understand who they are in one place. That's what an audience CRM is. It allows you to manage at a glance your relationship with your fans. Now, that's the marketing suite. We'll elaborate on that. We also want to talk about the advertising platform. Much of what independent artists and major label artists should be thinking about is not just who their fans are, but how to expand that fan base. And one of the best ways to expand a fan base is through advertising. Sometimes it's daunting because it costs money. So what we try and do at Feature FM is make sure that it's money well spent and that you understand what you're getting when you put your investment into this advertising. Because the advertising itself is specific for music, not just Facebook or Instagram, which can advertise anything. We have something called sponsored songs. We'll talk about that. That's advertising your music in a streaming platform, right? Putting it between similar artists or similar genres. We have a blog network. So people read music blogs to discover new music, and you want to put your music in front of them, you can buy that advertising through Feature FM. Same with audio advertising. People listen to the radio, right? How do you get your music in front of them? Well, sometimes you can get it on the radio. Other times you can advertise on the radio, right? So this makes sure that if you want to put your music where people are discovering new music, you can. You can buy all of these through Feature FM. And something we're working on and something we'll discuss is how to buy ads on social media, Facebook and Instagram as well. I know this is a lot. It makes a lot of sense when you log into the platform. And all of these tools are things that we've worked with digital marketers, major labels, independent labels, and some of the best in digital technology and music technology to figure out what a marketing suite should look like, right? When you think about a suite, you can almost think about like a toolbox, right? If you're trying to build a house, what tools do you need in your toolbox? We think these are the tools that everyone, no matter what time they are or where they are in their career, should always have in their toolbox. The reasons why are because they all work together. They help you understand your fans, right? So a pre-save, right? This allows you to engage and collect your data or fans' data before music is released. So for example, you may want to put your music out and it may come out in 2 weeks or 2 months, right? But in the weeks or months leading up to that release, what are you promoting? What are you telling your fans? What are you putting on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else? Likely telling them that music is coming out, but until the advent of the pre-save, there was no way to actually send fans to a destination where they can engage with content. And what a pre-save does is it allows artists to send fans to a place to engage with content. That engagement is a pre-save action. It's pretty self-explanatory. So if I want to make sure that music is saved to my library in advance of it coming out, I would pre-save it. So if I'm a big fan of an artist and I need to make sure their music is in my Spotify, Apple, Deezer, or Tidal libraries on release day, I'll pre-save it. But artists, it's best practice to set up a pre-save. No matter how many people complete the pre-save, one is better than none, and one fan is going to help you understand more about your fan base than you did before you did the pre-save. So something to think about is not big numbers, but incremental numbers. How can you build on what you're doing and grow this over time, right? It's starting small. It's starting with a pre-save. And then when your music is released, what do? It transitions to a smart link, right? Your music's going to be on all of these platforms. It's going to be on Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, Apple, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, so many platforms. And all of your fans may listen in different places. What Feature FM is going to allow you to do is make sure that you can direct fans to listen in the platform that they prefer, right? So one link, every store, right? Does that make sense? It's a very powerful tool because there's fans all over the place, all over the world, listening on all different sorts of services. When you send a smart link around, you can make sure fans listen where they want to listen. But as an artist or a marketer, you can understand where your fans are going. You'll look at the analytics and understand, are more of my fans listening on Spotify, or are more of my fans listening on Deezer or iTunes? And these things can help impact your marketing strategy. Action pages are another functionality available through Feature FM. And what an action page allows you to do is set up a specific action on a specific platform, right? So if, for example, you wanted to make sure that fans could follow you on YouTube, on Apple Music, on Spotify, those platforms have no way of informing you what fans are following you, right? When you send a fan to Spotify and they follow you, only Spotify knows who's following you. You as an artist don't know who's following you. When you send a fan to YouTube to subscribe and they subscribe, you don't necessarily know who those people are. So what action pages allow you to do as an artist or a marketer is set up these pages to get fans to follow. And when they complete that action, you'll know who they are. And you see this information in real time through an audience dashboard, right? So you're going to be able to understand in real time who's pre-saving your music on Spotify, or who's clicking to listen to your music on Deezer, or who's clicking to subscribe to your channels on YouTube. And really breaking down these fans and understanding where they're coming from and where they're going to and what actions they're taking will help you understand what kind of marketing you should be doing, right?
Michael, quick question. So you're basically saying always do a pre-save with every release.
If you can, always do a pre-save. There's no reason that you shouldn't do a pre-save.
Okay.
The only reason I would ever suggest not doing a pre-save is if there was some surprise drop, right? If you didn't want to market music and the marketing was that it was a surprise, a pre-save is probably not the right tool for you, right? But if you want to get people excited in the weeks leading up to something and engaging your content, you should always do it. And we always say, at minimum, try and launch it 2 weeks before your release date.
And then on the collection of fan information, what are the most common types of information that you can collect? I mean, can you collect email, WhatsApp numbers, stuff
Absolutely.
like that?
Yeah. So when fans pre-save or pre-add or pre-save on Spotify, pre-add on Apple, pre-save on Deezer or Tidal, or complete an action, what they're doing actually is logging in with their credentials for that service. So if I pre-save on Spotify, I'm going to log in with my Spotify credentials. And then if I opt in, meaning as a fan, I'm okay sharing my information, the artist or the user of Feature FM can see my first name, my last name, my email address, if I'm a paid or free user of whatever streaming service I'm using, how many profile followers I have, how old I am, where I'm based. So you can really start understanding your audience from a pretty granular level. Thanks. Great. That was a great question. I appreciate that. So once you're thinking about digital marketing, you're probably going to start thinking about digital advertising. Cool. Now I have all of this data. What do I do with it? How do I reach more fans? Where do I reach more fans? Right? And so that's where the advertising suite comes in. We spoke a little bit about the sponsored songs. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but what they are is a unit built in with Deezer. AudioMac actually launches this week, and Sua Musica, which is a Brazilian regional service. And what it allows you to do is place your song between two similar songs or similar artists. So if you've ever listened to music on SoundCloud or Spotify or Deezer on the free tier, sometimes you might get an ad for like car insurance or I don't know, a doctor's office, something interesting, but something perhaps totally unrelated to your listening experience. That's not terribly fun. So what Feature FM built was a way to actually insert music as an ad. And you as artists can buy that ad and put your music there. It's non-intrusive, and the fan can engage with that ad just like they can engage with any song on that streaming service. They can add it to their favorites. They can add it to their playlist. They can share it with a friend, and you can report back on that information in real time. It's a very powerful tool. Additionally, we have a blog network of roughly 30 blogs where we manage direct relationships. So if you go to Pop Justice or Idolator or buzzbands.la or EDM Sauce, you may see some advertising on those sites. And you may wonder how those ads get there. You can buy that advertising through Feature FM, right? That display advertising for your new song or your new video or any new content you're pushing, you can buy through Feature FM and display in this blog network. So it's almost like a digital billboard, if you will, right? When you drive down the road and you see a billboard, sometimes you have to see it a bunch of times for it to really work. So I wouldn't expect this to be the best engaging advertisement, but it's good for visibility. It helps people understand that you might have some new content out, or that you want them to better understand that there's a new video launching, or that you're pushing new merchandise or something like that. Now, similarly, we have an audio ad network. So if you want to push your music on streaming, you do that here with our sponsored songs. If you want to push your music on blogs, you do that with a blog network. And of course, if you want to push your music on radio, you do that with our audio ad network. So if you ever want to make sure that your audio ad, which is different than a sponsored song, is being played on the radio, you can buy that through Feature FM. An audio ad is a 30-second voiceover, very basic. Hey, this is Mikey Sherman and I sing in the Cro-Mags. Thanks for listening to my new song, right? That would be an audio ad, which is very different than a sponsored song, which is going to be the full song, front to back, full stream. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Great. Now, one of the most recent things that we've launched is our social ad platform. Now, our social ad platform is still in beta, so you won't be able to see it if you log into Feature FM. But what I can tell you about it is that it allows certain users, and eventually all users, to launch advertising campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. And when they launch those campaigns, they can make sure they're targeted. Now, let's talk a little bit about pre-releases and pre-save in detail. When you set up a pre-save or a pre-release, any click, any activity, anything any fan does on this page is something you can track. Now, when you know what fans are doing, you can decide what content, like maybe new music or new video, you want to send to a fan, right? For example, if I put out content and I know that people are engaging with it because they pre-saved it on Spotify, maybe I want to make sure that next time I put out a Spotify playlist, I market it to just those people, right? Perhaps I put my new video on Apple Music. I can tell you all of my fans who pre-saved my music on Apple Music. Maybe I want to email them and tell them my new video is out on the platform. You can understand different behaviors based on your audiences. And with that information, you can make marketing decisions. You can start thinking about how you can more effectively reach these fans where they are. Now, all of this is very helpful, and this gets you through the release day. Now, on release day, your pre-save is no longer a pre-save. A pre-save becomes a smart link, right? But before the pre-save becomes a smart link, it's really important to understand that it's an important marketing tool for you to use, right? Because you can capture fan data, but Feature FM has some added functionality that a lot of other platforms don't have, which is called the Spotify multiple follow. Now, when you use Feature FM and you set up a pre-save, you can have fans not only pre-save your song, but they can follow your artist profile, they can follow your playlist, and they can follow a user as well. So you're able to set up multiple follows so that when someone pre-saves your music, they're going to engage with you on a very interesting level, and they're going to be able to get your music sent to them algorithmically. If anyone's familiar with the Follow Friday playlist that Spotify uses, or Release Radar, if you follow an artist, Spotify will send you their music. So with Feature FM, we want fans to follow you as an artist, because if they do, Spotify will automatically send you future releases. So this is definitely one of the elements of the pre-save that makes it so important to consider when you're thinking about digital marketing in the weeks before a release?
And all these items are opt-in, I would imagine, right? I mean,
They're all opt-in, yes.
So you ask the fans for their permission, and if they say yes, you get all the information.
That's exactly right. So after the pre-save and the release happens, the link automatically switches to a smart link. And this is very unique for Feature FM. It means that when you could send fans just to a couple of services, because only a couple of services support pre-save, now you have a link that's going to include all of your services. And you don't have to do anything else on release day to make sure that this link is created for you programmatically. Meaning, when you set up your pre-save, it will automatically turn into a smart link. The URL stays the same. So from way before your music comes out to way after it's released, you can keep the same URL for all of your promotions. And it's going to make sure that fans are getting directed to the music where they can consume it. Feature FM allows for a lot of customization. You can create different URLs and different layouts and make sure that the pages look and feel the way that you want them to. But I think it's really important to also know that you can capture fan email addresses, right? So one of the things that I always say, and I think Jean-Luc's heard me say this before, but if you have 1,000 fans that pay you $100, it's a pretty good business, right? Those are numbers that are probably easier to get to for some than 1 million streams at 0.4 of a penny, right? So it's really important to understand who your fans are, right? If you have the email address for a fan, you might be able to sell them a t-shirt. You can tell them about your next release, about your tour date, about anything else that you may want to communicate with them. But if you don't have a way to identify who they are and communicate with them, you're going to have to rely on Spotify and Facebook and Google and all of these big companies and big platforms and big algorithms to get your fans. What Feature FM does is helps you manage your fan relationship. We allow you to collect emails on any smart link so that you can always understand who's engaging with your content and communicate with them later. So with pre-saves and smart links, we definitely recommend that you set them up for any and all kinds of releases, whether it's singles, EPs, playlists, full releases, right? LPs, definitely set them up, right? No matter what, we always recommend it. But for instance, there may be a marketing campaign or a contest or something that you want to set up between releases, right? Maybe you want to get more people to follow you on Spotify. Maybe you want to get more people to just subscribe to your YouTube channel. That's where action pages are the perfect tool, right? It's part of our marketing scheme. And these are some of the actions that you may consider, right? Hey, why don't you save my music on Spotify? Save it to your library and you can unlock specific content. So if you're an artist and you have maybe unreleased music or stems or beats laying around that you want people to perhaps remix or play around with, you can set up an action page so that someone has to save your profile or follow you on Spotify in order to unlock something like beats or stems for a remix. So you can create games, you can create contests, and when people engage, right, to save or add to library, they have to log in using Spotify or Apple. And when they log in, just like we said before, you're going to get their first name, their last name, their email address, and all of that other great information. So pre-saves, smart links, and action pages are part of the most, I think, necessary tools for any artist when they think about digital marketing, right? As we think about the future of Feature FM, we want to make sure that these landing pages that we just went through are very reflective of your brand. So moving forward with Feature FM in the next coming months, these pages are going to have multiple layouts and design themes. So you can almost think of these like websites, right? Artists used to have websites a lot, but now artists put out content all the time. So it's really hard to always update a website, right? And what these landing pages allow you to do is have constantly updated landing pages that look and feel like your branding, right? We really want to make sure that artists have the understanding of all of their channels. And That's why some of our analytics are also so important, right? So going through everything that you've seen here also amounts to analytics, meaning when fans engage with your content, your pre-save, your smart link, your landing pages, your action pages, we as a company, Feature FM, report back on that activity, right? You can see where people came from, what services they clicked to, and in some cases, right, using our centralized fan email collection, you can actually see who they are, right, on a first party basis. First name, last name, email address, age, location, gender, and a lot of identifiable information, right? Now, for the more advanced digital marketer, they may take some of that information, right? Some of this, what you're seeing up here right now, where they came from, where they went to, who they are, where they're located, how old they are. And all of this information oftentimes helps people understand how they want to advertise their content, right? And Facebook and Instagram are some of the biggest advertising platforms in the world. And they also allow for some of the most customization of any platform in the world. But because of all of this customization, it's extremely difficult to use for a lot of independent artists and for a lot of professionals too. So Feature FM is in the process of building Facebook and Instagram advertising so that you can, one, very quickly and easily select what you want to advertise. A Feature FM asset, a piece of content, perhaps an existing post, and then you'll automatically create the ad creative from within Feature FM once you choose what you're advertising. Instead of going into Facebook and setting up audiences that you want to target these ads to, you can just click a couple of buttons with Feature FM and we'll do it for you. We make it very simple. For the most basic artist or for the most advanced digital marketer, this is still a very effective tool. It's automating your audience targeting, which is something you need to think about, right? And then you can think about how these campaigns are working. You can see the analytics and the results, and based on the results, you can tweak and edit your campaigns, right? Something like A/B testing. Hey, I want to try sending this thing to this audience. If they like it, maybe I'll invest more money into that. If they don't like it, maybe I'll try a different audience and compare my results. And having a really easy to use tool that makes Facebook and Instagram advertising doable for most people allows for folks to A/B test, which is a really great marketing strategy. Does that make sense? Cool.
I was sorry, I was on mute because I had a dog barking here. No. So knowing a little bit about putting Facebook audiences together, so I think that could be, I mean, really cool, right? I mean,
yes.
You have your existing fan data and loop, you target right away to them.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
An example of this, right, to make it very clear, right? Targeting is something like this. Maybe I want to target fans who like Camila Cabello, that live in New York and have pre-saved my album and pay for Spotify. These are all things that you can use to target fans. Maybe you want to target fans who use Apple Music only and like hip hop, but they might also like my music. That's targeting. That's working with parameters. That's what we just talked about, right? Maybe I want to target concert tickets to super fans who are likely to buy concert tickets to my concert because I know something about them, right? All of these things are really, really important pieces of data that are going to help you better understand who and where to market to your fans, right? So in general, with Feature FM, we want to aggregate your data, right? Looking at it in silos or looking at it in small pieces is not helpful. You want to look at data holistically if you can, right? And that's where you're going to be able to understand the most value. So when you look at data, you want to aggregate your data across all tools, across all companies to achieve better conversion. You want to understand who your fans are, where they're coming from, and where they're going. And when you look at things holistically, you can optimize that much better, right? You want to control your link creation in a more efficient platform that saves you time. Like we were talking about, Feature FM aggregates multiple tools. Instead of jumping in between different platforms, you can actually just stay central within Feature FM and not worry about jumping in between platforms to worry about all of these different pieces of information or marketing on different platforms, just one. And then it's really important to know that as an independent artist, you own all of your data, right? We're never going to do anything with it without your consent. You own it. There's nothing that we can do without you affecting it from your side. So we want to be your partner here. This is not a Facebook or a Google or a Spotify where we're trying to take advantage of anyone, not to say they are, but this is your data. You earned it, you own it, so you can play with it however you so choose. We've worked with a lot of different kinds of partners, and it's worth noting that we work with, again, everyone from independent artists all the way up through major labels. So depending on where you're at in your career, Feature FM is always a good partner, right? We have technology that works, again, big and small. We have multiple different kinds of features and functions and different pricing for different tiers of artists. So always keeping in mind that we know where the future is going, right? Or at least we think we do. We want to also build tools that are thinking about that too. So when you think about Feature FM in the future, you might see us building certain things that help you better understand your audiences, right? Or maybe where your music is being consumed on socials or radio. Maybe perhaps actually messaging these fans, right? How are you going to do that? And some more ads, right? These are things that we're going to be focusing on a lot more as a company. So Feature FM at its core, again, is a digital marketing and advertising suite that have a lot of different tools available to you. But when you use them in a connected way, you're able to understand your fans holistically and start seeing trends. With these trends, you can better understand your fans. And when you start better understanding your fans, you can start cultivating better relationships. And those relationships are what you rely on as an artist to grow and expand your fan base. So Feature FM, we think, is a very important and healthy tool in a toolkit necessary to scale your success. So thank you.
It's a very nice presentation, Michael. I think a lot of cool stuff in there. So maybe I'll kick it off here with a couple of questions, and then I'm sure there are more on the call, so to speak. So with the SOMNIA project, we're very much focused on, let's say, the more starting talent, or let's say advanced talent, but not yet, let's say, on the global stage. So some people have a mini team, some people don't have a team. So how much of this can you manage as an individual artist? Because I mean, it's a lot of moving parts. So the big boys have their agency team, but the smaller ones don't.
It's a great question. So most of our users are independent artists with no team. So we have over 100,000 users with no team, just independent artists that log on and manage this all themselves. Okay. In fact, I'd say the small minority of our users have teams. And even the companies that you think have big digital marketing teams don't necessarily have big digital marketing teams. Okay. So the tool is built for everyone, but it's mostly built for an army of one, right? Someone that really needs a lot of firepower built into one tool. And it makes it very easy for one person to manage. But if you want to collaborate with other folks on your team, there's also a lot of collaboration tools built into the product.
Okay. And then on that part, right, I mean, collaboration, or if you see team a little bit different. So let's say you are an artist manager, and we have actually one on the call here. So you work with multiple artists. So can you unite, let's say, multiple artists under one account, or how would that work?
Yes, absolutely. So there's an artist account option with Feature FM. So if you go to feature.fm/pricing, you'll see two options. One says artist, and that's if you're an independent artist and you just want an account just for yourself. Now, if you're a business, like a manager, a label, a marketing agency, we have business plans. And business plans effectively allow you to have folders. And each folder could be a different artist on your roster. So yeah, you can marry your entire roster under one Feature FM account using our business plans.
Okay, okay. And so another question, and then I'll just throw it to maybe some others. But sure. So you're describing this obviously for music, but this could be for ticket sales, for merch as well, right? I mean, you can basically use these tools for anything, so to speak, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we're thinking about pretty much everything related to music, right? So if it's your music, your video, your tickets, your merch, anything that's kind of related to you marketing your project, can be done from within Feature FM, and you can track all of these analytics like we were talking about. So audio is obviously core to music, but we're also touching on all of the related components too.
Okay. So let me do the following here. I'm going to go.
And I just also want to point out, if you can still see my screen, this is my phone number. I'm based in New York, so you need to add a +1 or a +4, depending on where you are. But this is my email address, michaels@feature.fm. If anyone ever wants to reach out, ask questions, discuss the product or platform, I'm always happy to do that.
And because you have a representative in Miami as well, right? So in case there is a specific need to be more in Spanish language, is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're able to work globally, but we also have Spanish language support if you ever need dedicated support on that front.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, right? I mean, so the days of the likes and let's say the social media fans are probably a little bit over. Do you guys have any sense of, like, for artists, on how much of their, let's say, social media fans are in the end really translated into registered fans? Like, is that a 10% or less than 10%? Any ideas on that?
It's a great question. Fandom is a very interesting measurement, right? Fandom can be measured by so many different criteria. And I think that when you look at, we can look at any different kind of artist and any different kind of fan base, they react to different things differently, right? So translating fans from one platform to another oftentimes depends on what kind of fans you're dealing with and what kind of genre or demographic or age. So it's hard to benchmark these things, but what we really try and focus on at Feature FM is generating fans on streaming services, right? These are the commercial services. This is where you make your money, right? Mm-hmm. You can generate fans on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. There are commercial components to those platforms, admittedly, but if you grow a following on the platforms that we focus on, you can grow a career. If you grow a following on social media platforms, you still have to convert them to listeners. And to your point, that's difficult depending on how engaged those fans are. So we don't have a benchmark. The best practice is to think about engaging fans where they can consume your music and where you can effectively engage them for, longer term, as opposed to trying to convert them to a listener from a social media platform.
So what are some of the let's say, the cool case studies that you guys are very proud of, that basically Feature FM helped people to get something special done, whether or not it was a release or grow their fan base? I mean, what are sort of like the showcase cases that you have? Yeah,
so in some instances, we've worked with teams to grow audiences from zero, right? Which is great. We've launched new projects with some of our teams where we start with nothing, no basis for an audience, and trying to understand who their audience is from 0 to 60, let's say, as a phrase. There are other clients that we've worked with that have run interesting marketing campaigns where they've tried to better understand where their audiences are in the world, right? And they'll say something like, hey, if you can get your territory, right? If you can get your region of the world engaging with my content more than any other region, we'll do something special, right? So we've seen this a couple of times where it's incentivizing fans to spread this with their friends. Mm-hmm. And it's actually the artist using the Feature FM analytics as the contesting tool and saying, hey, I see that so many of my fans are coming from Brazil because of my pre-save. Tell your friends, let's see more of this. And then different territories started competing against each other to see if they could ramp up more interesting kind of like fan engagement, which is really a really interesting component as well.
And so you're mentioning briefly there Brazil. So language in terms of the platform itself is not an issue, right? I mean, it works. Right. If I'm an artist in Mexico or Brazil, I can put my settings on Spanish or Portuguese and run through it.
That's exactly right. So we have a variety of ways to work with partners, both on the platform as users of Feature FM, but also as fans, right? If you're an artist, your hope is that your fans are global. So some of our features actually allowed you to make sure that fans are using your technology in the appropriate way. So let's say you have fans in France. Deezer is a really popular streaming service in France. Yep. So you can set up your campaigns on Feature FM. So Deezer is the first link and the page is in French, right? So not only can you use it as a Spanish speaking artist, but let's say you have fans all around the world that speak different languages. The platform is totally conducive to that as well.
Okay. Okay. And did I understand correctly that there is also a kind of a help desk? So let's say I'm relatively new. I have a couple of questions. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, how to plan my action, my pre-save, my smart link and my action page.
Yeah.
I mean, is there like a chat function or a number that I can call that can help me out when I'm starting with all of this?
Absolutely. So client services, CLIENT, services at feature.fm is a great email to reach out if you have any general questions. But if you go to feature.fm and go to our blog, we have a series of webinars that are actually a great resource that have been done by Corey, who's our director of client services, that walk you through everything from, you know, a successful pre-save campaign to how to start thinking about audience retargeting and remarketing, which is even more advanced. So you can touch on any of the different components of the platform using the webinar series. And then, of course, like you mentioned, we have a pretty robust help center and articles available to you in the FAQs.
Okay. So, look, I mean, I think this is very interesting. I am a big fan of data and going direct to fan, right? I mean, and doing all the things that I needed to do that in order to get your music out there. So let me throw it out one more time. I think everybody is unmuted.
Well, we're here both on this line and privately as well. If anyone ever wants to reach out again, it's Michael S. at feature.fm, and happy to answer any questions at any point.
So what you and I have talked about is that we might just do something with a couple of artists that are, let's say, in the SOMNIA pool, so to speak, in order to create maybe a couple of test examples and get some experience that we can show maybe on the next webinar. So I will connect with you on that. So we'll probably do a kind of a, I don't know whether or not it's a contest or something where we invite people to explain why we should pay for their account, so to speak, and maybe even by having a SOMNIA account, we could bring in some people and start doing these kind of things, and then sharing that knowledge back to the people, particularly in the local language. I think is going to help. So we're starting a lot of these things in Spanish. So I wanna thank you. I'll do a quick little final summary here in Spanish, just so, because this is going to go on the web, so that people understand more. And what we'll do is we'll add it in at this moment, a little visual, basically explaining what the SOMNIA project is. Entonces, para terminar este webinar, muchas gracias a Feature FM para estar aquí, para presentar sus herramientas que son muy interesantes, muy valiosos para artistas como DJs, pero cualquier artista, yo creo. Y es un otro webinar del lado de SOMNIA. Nosotros estamos trabajando en este proyecto para conectar los expertos de la industria, como tenemos hoy, con el talento de América Latina. Y hacemos varias actividades que son principalmente en dos áreas. Una área es educación, como estamos haciendo aquí, y tenemos varios webinars por seguir. Tenemos también en nuestro website contenido en vídeo, por ejemplo, los consejos de Martin Forbeck. Tenemos un Facebook group, tenemos un blog con mucho contenido en cooperación con Mungeli, la agencia de Holanda. Y también tenemos muchas actividades de promoción. Estamos con nuestra propia radio online. Siempre estamos convidando DJs a participar en este proyecto. Estamos creando mini mixes, estamos con playlists y estamos también preparando eventos por el momento cuando podemos abrir las puertas, ¿no? When we can go back to party, we will be there, and in the meantime we prepare online. So thank you, everybody. Michael, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We will be in touch because you have a great tool and we'll get some artists to work with this, and then I imagine, as I said, we will create a couple of examples, and then we'll come back maybe in 2 months from now. We'll do another webinar with a couple of examples from Latin America DJs.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Gracias.